So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. This is a very highly requested video. So I did a couple of them and then I've not done one for quite a while, and that is where I break down your guys' outreach emails and kind of, just tweak them and let you guys know what I would do in that situation. If I had an email of that nature, how would I change it to make it better, to get a better response? Then obviously get more meetings booked. Essentially, that's the main goal at the end of the day. And also getting more meetings booked with higher caliber brands. I think that's kind of the epitome of appointment setting. It's getting a lot of appointments booked, yes, but ensuring that it's with like the coolest, highest caliber of brands. I think that's what every agency owner wants. I know that's what I want in the client acquisition side of Bax Consulting. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video, breaking down your guys' outreach. Now, if you would like me to break down and essentially critique your outreach email for the next video that I do of this, make sure you go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I do a random story on there at some random point asking to send in your emails, and I'll go ahead and critique them in the next video. Now guys, as always, just before we continue in this video, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Massively helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And with that being said, let's jump straight into it. So I'm just gonna dive straight in, not gonna hold you guys any longer. Let's have a look at the first email. So it reads, "Hey, first name. First, let me say I love the way you guys specifically put strategic content in front of your audiences. Not hard to say you guys have a great marketing team in place. Anyways, my name is Jordy and I own an Ecomm agency that scales Ecomm brands to 7 and 8 figures directly through paid advertising, and we offer guarantees to at least 2 to 3x your ROAS, return on ad spend. But stop, before you exit this email, this is by no means a pitch or us trying to sell you on our services that we can't deliver on. However, I've noticed that many brands in your industry are having similar problems with not generating enough sales due to them taking a hit because of COVID, aren't utilizing Facebook ads because they don't know how to, or have been burnt by agencies in the past which gave them a bad taste on Facebook advertising. If they are advertising, their ads aren't profitable and they're just throwing a whole bunch of money into something that's not bringing them back the results they expect. I'm curious, has any of these 3 problems I mentioned above impacted your business in any way these past few months? If so, I would love to show you some strategies that I prepared that you and your team can implement today and see results instantly. I'll leave my scheduling link down below so we can hop on a quick call to sort of discuss this into more details. At the end, you can either walk away with a partner that will help skyrocket your business, or you can literally steal everything I went over on the call. Either way, there's no downside, only infinite upside. Scheduling link. Thanks, Jordy. So the number one thing that I've noticed straight away from this email is it's slightly too long. Okay, you've seen that. I don't know how long that took me to read, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, whatever it was. It's just too long. It's going over too much stuff. You're trying to cover too many areas of your agency in one email, and what that obviously does is results in it being very word heavy. And majority, put it this way, there's a lot of instances in that email that kind of ask the prospect to just opt out, just to back out, right? For example, when you say, however, I've noticed that many brands in your industry are having similar problems with, and then you go into a couple of the things, right? You've said the first one is not generating enough sales due to COVID, and then the next one you say about aren't utilizing Facebook ad, so during that bit, there's a lot of times where they can hop out, they can just bounce out, and that's it, and they won't feel as though they've lost anything, right? That's a point you need to realize, is that you want a prospect to open your email, and yes, you want them to take the call to action, but you want them to feel as though if they click out of this email right now, they're gonna lose something, right? They've left something on the table that they could have quite easily scooped up. Okay, now that also kind of ties in with your CTA. You ask about, do you say a 45-minute call? No, you just say about a call. So that's not too bad, but I would go more specific. Oh, it is 45 minutes actually. It says there, 45-minute discovery call, right? So they don't feel as though they're gonna miss out on anything, because instantly they're just gonna think, oh, it's a 45-minute call. I don't have that type of time right now. Okay, that gives them the reason to click out, right? We don't want that. Whereas if you say a 15-minute call, then it's like, oh, okay, because it's just not as much investment that they need to have on their end. There's nowhere near as much buy-in. Now, how do you work it with a 15-minute call when actually the sales process is 45 minutes? Well, the initial 15 minutes of any call should be, understanding the business, right? Diagnosing their current foundational metrics, seeing where they're currently at and figuring out where it is that they want to go, and seeing, based on the foundational metrics, seeing if you can actually get them to where they want to go. That's the first 15 minutes of any sales call. And so, that you can pitch that section, right? The diagnosis of their brand. And then there's always a section there for them at the end of that 15 minutes, there's kind of there's like a section where you can either go one way or another. One way is the sales process, but the other is just end the call there. So in some instances, it genuinely will be a 15-minute call, but how you make that transition, you ask them if it's okay to explain what you have to offer because they're a good fit. And you only say that if they genuinely are a good fit and you feel as though you can actually help them, like genuinely help the brand. So then you're kind of giving them that offer, and that's where you can extend it to the 45-minute call, right? So that's one thing that's one thing that I pulled. The other thing, as I say, it's just too word heavy. I would try and get those same points across in probably a third of what this length is. I don't think you need to explain those three where you say, however, I've noticed many brands in your industry are having similar problems with. First things first, they don't care about other brands. It's competitors, right? So there's always going to be an element of care that they have for the competitors. They want to see what they're doing and whatnot. But at the end of the day, what people care about most is themselves and their own business, right? So yeah, I don't think you need that section, and that's going to take a huge chunk out because you mentioned three main things, and they are three things that people struggle with that businesses struggle with, but I think you can reword that most definitely. And the problem you've got here is you've got two CTAs, and anytime you have more than one just black and white a question or thing that you want them to do, if there's more than that, they almost feel paralyzed because there's too much different stuff to do, and then they end up not doing anything, right? So you've asked them, I'm curious, has any of these three problems I mentioned above impacted your business in any way in the past few months? So that's kind of like, that can be one CTA where you initiate a conversation, just a genuine a conversation between one business owner and another. But then you go on to keep talking, and then you say about booking in a call. So you've got too much stuff. I would have one black and white CTA. I would shorten it, but apart from that, I think it's pretty good. So let's move on to the next one. So this one reads, hey, first name, and then there's a personal paragraph. So make sure with that personal paragraph that it's genuinely personal and it's not just found you on Instagram or whatever. Like, it's not, that doesn't resonate deeply. You want it to be genuinely personal. One really good way that I've recently started to, and I'm going a bit off topic, I'm not even going to the email yet, but I think this is important. One really good way to go about, that first line, the first personalized line that we always talk about. So go into Snovio, click on the actual, so on Snovio, you've got like the website, and then you click on the actual, the Chrome extension icon. It gives you a drop down, click on complete search. And then it's going to give you the list of everybody at the company and their respective role at the company. Find the owner and then click on the owner's name, right? It's actually going to give you a link, and you can click on the owner's name. And then on that link, you actually see a bit of a history. I don't know if it does it for everyone, but I was actually looking at a couple businesses the other day, and I seen that it was on every single one of those leads. So I'm pretty sure it's for everyone that they find information on. It gives you a history of it shows you what their work history is. So what companies they've exited, what companies they've recently worked at, what companies they've worked at just in their time, if they've built a business, if they were the founder at that business and now they're a founder at this new business, if they're a founder at two businesses simultaneously, three or whatever it is, and you can leverage that information in that first line. That's personal information, and that's the stuff that's going to resonate. If you can kind of somehow tie in their experience with something that you're currently doing, or even, for example, if they're working, or if they're the founder at three companies and their role at those companies is currently active, like they've not exited it or whatever, one thing you could say is like, that you genuinely commend them on being able to handle three companies of the sizes that they're at. You could say, given that I'm a business owner, I understand how hard it is to just run one business. So I just wanted to commend you on the fact that you're running three right now. And you could even say the business names, for example, right? Something like that is very, very powerful, and it yeah, you're not going to find a much better personal piece of information to write about than that. Anyway, apologies for that side tangent. Just wanted to mention, ensure that I got that point across. I think it's going to be very valuable for you guys. But let's continue with this email. So, hey, first name, personal paragraph. Company name makes a great face value impression. However, running through its current social media efforts, social marketing efforts, I could point out multiple places where it could improve dramatically. So I take it that's going to be the personal paragraph. So you've said that's where you insert it, and you've actually given an example, I believe, because you've said company name makes a great face value impression. However, so I take it potentially. So if that is that initial personal paragraph, change that, take that out and input what I just mentioned. That's going to resonate far, far better, because that's, even though you've said about company name, it's not overly personal, right? So you want to make sure that it's very, very personal. Saying something like their history is very, very personal, okay? I own e-commerce brands myself, and I also help admired brands like K-Swiss or Snap, Oura Ring approach paid advertising from a revolutionized angle that ensures massive top line growth. I'd honestly love to have a brief chat with you explaining how to implement some unrivaled strategies to your paid advertising that would ensure substantial top line growth, ROI, and brand engagement. Juan, let's e-meet for 15 minutes, perfect CTA, choose a time that suits, that fits you here. PS, I'm really curious to find out your motivation behind starting company name. So the fact that you own e-commerce brands is very, 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 very powerful. Now, I'm not saying if you're an agency owner, you now just want to go ahead, just go out and start running brands just so you've got that connection. Most definitely not, okay? But you know, there's one student in the Quantum Leap Ecomm agency program called Rod. He's actually based here in Australia as well. He's had experience running e-com brands, and Rod, I hope you don't mind I share this story. He's had experience running e-com brands in the past, and one of what he has in every single one of his outreach emails is a sentence. I can't remember exactly what it reads, but there's a sentence in there where he essentially connects with the e-com owner. He says, you know, look, from one e-com owner to another, I understand X, Y, and Z, and he's able to really, really resonate with them because he was once in their position. Okay, so if you do actually own your own brands, most definitely leverage that. I think you've leveraged it. I think the fact that you've even mentioned it in the email is good, but honestly, I would make sure that you hit on that a lot more and try and think of 1 to 2 things that no one else knows other than e-com owners. You know, if you're not an e-com owner, you wouldn't know, right? Whatever that may be. I'm not an e-com owner, so I wouldn't know. But, you know, I like to think that I know e-com brands, e-com founders' pain points pretty well. But, you know, there's always going to be 1 or 2 things that just nobody knows unless you're actually the person. And you were that person, or you currently are that person. So I would definitely make sure that you touch on that. Also, I don't know how you've helped K-Swiss, Oura Ring, stuff like that. Like physically, I don't know if they were a client or whatever, but however that is, they are amazing, amazing brands to really, I suppose, flex, for lack of better words. So, you know, again, the fact that you've mentioned it, I think is really good. So honestly, overall, I think this is a pretty good email. I like that you've said a 15-minute email. I think that's really, really good. As I say, the only kind of thing I could say potentially, what I would do honestly in your situation is I would run with this email. I think it's a pretty good email. Change out that personal paragraph and make sure you do something like I mentioned before, and then run with that. See, you know, collate data behind that, see how it goes, and then from there, depending if it works, just keep running with it, right? But you could always do a variation of this and touch on, as I say, I think one big thing that you could leverage in this email is touching on that personal experience that you've got, or you say that you own e-com brands right now. So I think most definitely you could leverage that a little bit heavier in a variant version of this email. But apart from that, dude, all looks good to me. So moving on, subject line, quick one, pretty good subject line. So let's have a look at the email itself. So, hey name, hope all is well in location. That's pretty good. You're kind of leveraging the fact that you've done a little bit of research straight off the bat, just very subtly. And then you go into a personalized compliment. That's pretty good, actually. The magic is clearly there with you guys, and I hope you're excited. You're as excited about your potential as I am. I run agency name. We're an ad agency specializing in niche brands. If you want, I'd happily send you a short screen recording breaking down a couple of more powerful methods you can implement into your strategy as soon as possible. Just let me know. Have a good one, from London. I like that intro and I like the outro that you said about in location, and then you've said And in the outro, you've said, have a good one from London. I think that's different. And that's one of the main things you guys need to be with outreach is just be different, be unique. Like, I cannot stress that point enough. And I've never seen that before. So that's pretty good. So I'm always talking about how important it is to be poignant. And this email is actually pretty good because it's short, it's poignant. It says what it needs to say, and then it ends. There's no fluff, there's no fat added into it, there's no unnecessary explanations or whatever. I really like the kind of poignant approach that you're taking. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit longer in the real one because you're going to add in a personalized compliment there. Again, with that, I would leverage something like I mentioned at the start of the video. I think that's going to be super, super powerful for you guys. And I know that, when I leveraged that, it was just getting really good responses because like nobody else is doing that type of research. And again, that in and of itself serves as being unique and different from everybody else. The other thing that I wanted to say was the main thing that I've got with this email is that the CTA doesn't sound overly sexy, and that's one thing that you really need to do is make sure that your CTA sounds sexy, because you've said, I run agency name, we're an ad agency specializing in niche brands. So for example, skincare brands, we're an ad agency specializing in skincare brands. If you want, I'd happily send you a short screen recording breaking down a couple more powerful methods you can implement into your strategy as soon as possible. So obviously that's a Loom video and you're gonna be providing value in that Loom video, but it just doesn't sound that intriguing. And I don't think it's gonna warrant a crazy amount of replies simply based on the fact that you've not positioned it in an intriguing way, in a sexy type of way. You could say something like, I run a machine that routinely adds 1 million per year minimum to our Ecomm clients, bottom line, top line. And I would actually love to record a Loom video for you, or a video for you showing exactly how you can do the same with brand name and essentially slice your current CPA by 30%. Or something like that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same CTA, and obviously I'd reword that. I've literally just come up with that off the top of my head, but you get the idea, right? It's the same CTA. You're getting the same point across, but it's just the way that you're saying it, the way that you're positioning it sounds a lot more sexy, and because it sounds more sexy, you've kind of hyped it up a little bit. It makes it more intriguing. All these brands that do, for example, iPhone, right? iPhone, UFC, okay? I'm going completely off topic here, okay? But if any of you guys watch the UFC, I would honestly say one of the biggest reasons why they are so successful in today's day and age is because of those the trailers that they do for upcoming fights, right? The trailers they do for upcoming fights are like nothing I've ever seen before. Whether you like fighting or not, whether you know who's fighting or not, I think it will still it will still raise the hairs on your arms because it gets you excited, and that's why they're so big. iPhone do the same with their new launches. I mean, I've got the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and one thing I realized with this, the iPhone XR, I believe is the iPhone 10, right? Because it was, because I didn't have the 11. It was the third oldest version. I got this phone and I realized nothing's different about it. It looks different. It's got a better camera. I'll give it that. And it's bigger. But apart from that, the exact same functions you can do on this as really any other iPhone. But why I bought it was because they just hype it up so well. And at the end of the day, it's still the same thing, right? And as I say, the UFC do it very well. They hype things up, which is why so many people buy. That's what you need to do with your CTA, whether it's a call, whether it's a Loom video, whether it's some sort of free gift, or whether it's like a case study video, or some sort of like a PDF like action flow, or whatever it is. You need to hype it up. If you don't hype it up, it's going to be bland and it's just going to be like whatever. And again, it goes back to the point that I made in the first email. It just gives them a reason to back out. They're not going to feel as though they're missing out on anything. If you hype it up and then they click away, they're gonna feel it. They're gonna think about it later. They're like, oh, I should have replied to that. I should take up the offer, right? But if it's just bland, it's boring, they're like, whatever. I'm not losing out on anything. You don't want them to be like that. The way that you do that, make it sexy, hype it up, and you will see an increase in reply rates. All right, moving on to the next one. Now I know I'm doing quite detailed responses. I apologize, I may not be able to get through as many as I thought, but let's move on. So this one, obviously subject line is question owner. Yeah, pretty good subject line. Only thing I potentially change on that is take that initial capital of question, just do lowercase, but apart from that, looks pretty good. So, hey owner, personalization, I'll take it that's gonna say firstly, personalization, and then you go into say secondly. The reason why I'm reaching out to you today is that while doing some research on ecom brands, I had a look at business, and in full transparency, I personally feel like you are missing out on a ton of opportunities which you can utilize to make to make a lot of extra profit with business every month. I have scaled my own ecom brands whilst being wildly profitable with these same methods, and would love to know if I can send you a brief video explaining how you can exactly do the same with business. Would love to hear your views, owner. Stay blessed. So again, I like how poignant it is. It's not overly word heavy. I like that. I would potentially do some segmenting out. I wouldn't have 2 big paragraphs. I would have like maybe 5 smaller ones or whatever, 6, 7 smaller ones, because I find that reads a lot better. I think with ad copy, it's the same idea. You know, we never have chunks of paragraphs or chunks of lines together. We always do ideally we do just literally 1 line, right? All the way down, and we leave a space in between because it reads a lot better. I know it myself when I read long ad copy or long copy of any sort, it just reads a lot better. I find myself finishing the entire piece like without realizing I've read the whole thing. When I read chunks, right, on a Facebook ad or whatever, I'm sat there and I know I'm reading. I'm thinking, right, okay, keep going. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing I find for me, it reads a lot better when it's just like 1, 2 lines, maybe 3 lines in an email max. That's the first thing. The other thing is that this kind of ties in with the previous one that I was talking about, in terms of, you mentioned that you have scaled your own ecom brands whilst being wildly profitable. So I would honestly, in this case, I would put everything on that. I would like basically base the entire email around the fact that you've done this in the past, and you was able to do these types of numbers. And then, you know, one thing you could do, because one of the objections that I think, you know, if you go down that route, which, as I say, I think you should, by just having the entire email talking about the fact that you have ecom brands in the past, you've scaled up, you've got great numbers. If you go down that route, one of the objections that they're going to have, or as I say, whether it's conscious or subconscious, they're going to be thinking, why don't you just keep scaling those brands? If you're getting amazing results, why don't you just keep scaling up those brands? Why are you now reaching out to me? And that may put a bit of a bitter taste in their mouth, right? And that actually may, as I say, turn them away subconsciously or consciously. And so one thing that I would do is I would say a bit about the reason, right? So you can open it up saying, don't use this word for word because I've not put any thought into it, but you could say something along the lines of, I've scaled up my own ecom brands in the past to, and actually with one of them I was able to do these numbers. Now, the reason being, as I'm sure you know, enter in name, and that's where you could kind of say one of the unknowns about running an ecom brand in terms of the product operation side of things that nobody else really knows about unless you've actually ran an ecom brand. So you're very subtly connecting there as well, right? And it's resonating with them. So, you know, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So you could say that, and then you could say, now, given you run your own brand, enter in name, I'm sure that you know product operation problem, and that's the reason why I don't actually run my own brands anymore, because I very quickly realized that I was able to get amazing results, but I wasn't able to do product operation problem or shipping problem, whatever that is, right? So then that kind of alleviates that objection that they may have of, why don't you just keep scaling your brands? And it also puts you as a marketing agency owner even on a higher pedestal as well, because it's like that, you know, you're basically telling him that you love marketing. And, you know, most ecom brand owners, ecom brand founders, they don't love the technical side of marketing every single day. And so the fact that you do, that can also help warrant a response, get a conversion or whatever it is. So that's the biggest thing that I've got for this email. I think that, as I say, it's very short, poignant. I like it, but I would go kind of all in on the fact that you've owned your own brands before and you can connect on that. And then you can obviously pitch the same CTA as you've got in there, which is obviously a video, a Loom video, whatever it is, provide your value, pitch the call, hop on the call, sell, the client. Next one. So love the subject line. OMG, I love the brand name. I like that a lot. I think that's definitely going to warrant a good response because it's going to feel as though it's a customer. I actually had a service provider reach out to me the other day. I'll see if I can find the email. So I can't find the email on my computer here, but I had a service provider reach out to me today about the education program. And the whole entire email, I didn't even think it was a service provider. The entire email, I thought it was a potential customer. So I was reading it, and at the end, he pitched me, basically rewrote a sales page, right? And he pitched me that at the end, and I did laugh when I read it because I got hooked in. And so, you know, coming from that perspective, it really does work coming across as a customer. So just thought I'd let you guys know that. So yeah, as I say, back to this, love the subject line. Let's get into the email. So, hey Jack, first off, I recently came across Evergoods while doing an intense search on the best backpacks to buy for this winter. I really need a new one. And I've got to say, Jack, the CPL24 is really grabbing my eye, and that integrated harness seems absolutely excellent. Secondly, I'm honestly a bit of a geek, and so Evergoods caught my eye for an extra reason like that. I recently helped a backpack brand with similar traits to yours go from $63.48 a month. I like the specificity to a little over $41,870 every single month in only 13 days. Absolutely love that. Would you like to see the case study, Jack? You can literally steal my best converting audiences and strategies I used on this brand and implement them straight into Evergoods to ultimately see a noticeable increase, noticeable return. Jack, do I send it to this email? Thank you. I would go ahead and test out this email. I think it's a great email. You've hit all the points that you ought to hit, the personalization, coming across as a customer, specificity in both the personalization as well as the case study, and the case study is really, really good as well, to a little over 42,000 every single month in only 13 days. It's a very bold claim. That's another thing that works really, really well in your emails, is making a bold claim, because it's going to make the prospect, whoever's reading it, almost chuckle in a way. And again, it creates curiosity, and creating curiosity in your outreach. That's basically the reason people respond or people book in a call, right? It's not because the numbers you're saying, it's because the numbers you're saying create curiosity. So in that case, you know, in this case, Jack, right? Jack wouldn't say, yes, he wants to see the video because you took a brand from $6,300 a month to $42K a month. It's not because of that. It's because taking a brand from $6,300 a month to $42K a month has created curiosity within Jack in this instance. In 13 days, he's like, yeah, whatever, as if, let's see it then. You know, so that's the singular most important thing. That's why prospects book in a call. That's why you'll get responses, you'll get open rates, because it creates curiosity. Look at all the subject lines that we use. Look at the headlines that we want to be using for Facebook ads. It creates curiosity, and that is, to be honest, I think you've done that very, very well in this email. So I would 100% go ahead, test this out, collate some data, and obviously then from there you can kind of launch a new iteration, create a variant based on the data that you've collated, etc., etc. And yeah, I think you're onto something there, dude. I really, really like that one. Next, email subject: custom marketing audit for first name. So I would test that subject line first things first. The only reason I'm a little bit I'm not too sure, I'm a little bit on the fence, because custom marketing audit, it sounds very bland. Okay, and now I know I've just been talking about how much you want to come across as a customer, but you got to remember that in email outreach, you know, there's more than one way that works, right? You could do a bold claim in your first in the subject line, and that could create that curiosity that you want. I've never tested it, but you know, that could create the curiosity that you want to create, and that could work amazingly well, right? So it's not that, like, you know, if you don't come across as a customer, you will never be good at email outreach. There's multiple ways to doing it. This could be a good way. I would test it, but as I say, I think custom marketing audit, there's nothing really to it. It doesn't have a punch, but I would try it. So let's get into the email itself. Hey, first name, for example, if it was me, Kai Bax here from Bax Consulting. I just recorded a custom marketing audit video for you, showing you a major issue on your website and sharing some killer marketing strategies and ideas to take over a large segment of market share in your industry. You can check out the video. You can check out the video here. It's only a few minutes long, but definitely worth checking out. If you watch the whole thing and still think I wasted your time, I'll send you $50, no questions asked. asked. Please let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to book a call with me here, booking URL. So I was about to say that I'm not a huge fan of it. And I would still say that in terms of that intro, right? I just recorded a custom marketing video, audit video, stuff like that. Again, it sounds a little bland. There's no punch to it. But what I absolutely love about this email, I'm sure you guys can probably guess, you would have seen my face lit up when I read it. If you watch the whole thing and still think I wasted your time, I'll send you $50, no questions asked. That's insane. That's a bold claim and a half. I guarantee you will get a tremendous amount of video views, Loom video views. So I really like it. I would test that out. It's an approach that I don't usually do, so I can't really talk too much on it. But one thing that I would recommend to do is test that out, collate some data, see how well it's resonating with the market and whatnot. One other thing that you can do is go more heavy on the $50. So like you could, test out the subject line of owner name. So for me, if you were reaching out to me and I was the owner, you could say, Kai, I want to give you $50. I would open that email, I'd be like, what? And then you can go into a bit more of a spiel about the fact that look, I've recorded, or my name is this, we do this, and I've actually recorded a Loom video walking you through how we did this for one of our clients, or how we routinely take clients from this to that, whatever it is. Here's the Loom video. Make sure you title your Loom video with an intriguing title. Again, because there's a point for them to opt out. They could read the email and not watch the Loom, so they could opt out. But if you give a good title for your Loom video, again, you create that curiosity. It's going to increase your Loom video watch rate. And then at the end, you could just say about, if you watch the whole thing, still think it's not valuable or there's nothing you can implement or whatever, I'll send you $50. I think that's amazing. I really, really like that. And I think my response is going to be mirrored across all people who open the email as well. People are going to laugh at it. They're going to be like, that's crazy. They're going to watch it. And I think that they're going to respect you a lot more as well, because you're willing to send them $50 if they didn't find value. And if you make that Loom video genuinely valuable, I think it's a pretty good funnel to take them through. So I would test this out. I would send this exact email. As I say, I've not got too much experience. It's a very, very left field approach to what I would usually do, but I think it could still work. If not, I would try a variant and using the stuff that I just talked about. So let's move on. This next email. Hi Sarah, I came across your brand via Instagram and just wanted to say that I was really impressed by your content for women's fitness and nutrition. First things first, very, very just surface level personalization. I would go deeper, because that's not going to resonate with anybody. Okay. The idea of that personalized line is to make it resonate, to make people feel as though you've done your research. That's a lot more, I wouldn't even say that's a personalized line, but I know that's what you're getting at, right? You're trying to make that initial opener personalized line, but that I wouldn't even say is personalized, because to be honest, all you've mentioned is the sub niche that they're in. So I wouldn't even say it's a personalized line, but as I mentioned, I know that's what you're trying to get at. So make sure you just go deeper into that personalization, figure out something specific, have a look on their website about page, search them into Google, figure out something, leverage the idea that I talked about at near the start of the video about looking at their history, stuff like that, LinkedIn, stuff like that. You're going to get a bit more of a deeper personalization thing that you can talk about, right? And that's going to resonate a lot more. So moving on, just thought you might find it interesting how we recently scaled an e-commerce brand from 30K to 150K per month in revenue. Yeah, I'm an owner of Artus Media, where we help establish e-com brand scale to, would you be open to a quick call to chat further? Let me know and we can set up a time. The main problem here, it's poignant, it does the job. I think it could be better, but it's not terrible. The one thing that I do want to mention about this email is the fact that you've mentioned you just thought it might be interesting how we recently scaled an e-com brand to 30K from 30K to over 150K. But then you kind of forget about that, and then you talk about setting up the call. So, you've said just thought you might find it interesting, and that may spark interest in the prospect that you're reaching out to, but then you've kind of neglected that. You've mentioned it, and then it's almost like you've forgotten about it, and now you're asking for the call. I would triple down on that case study. I would triple down into the fact that you've been able to put 30K into a machine, and that machine's churned out $150,000. That's a crazy case study, right? So I would triple down on that, and I would make the CTA surrounding that, right? Probably the most common way to do that would obviously be a Loom video, some sort of audit or whatever. So yeah, I would triple down in that because, as I say, you've almost neglected it. And I think that could warrant interest, but then your CTA is something that's completely different. I know you've mentioned set up a quick call to chat further, but I don't know, I feel like it's neglected. You've neglected the main thing, and the main thing being 30 to 150K. So I would do I would change up your CTA and make it surround that specific case study. So next one, hey, client's name. I am Clarence and I run a digital marketing agency called VWM Marquee. I noticed that you are not running any online ads for your real estate list. Okay, so this is a real estate outreach email. By running ads, leads can be generated for every single one of your listings on a monthly basis. You won't have to worry about where your next client will come from, and basically never have to worry about the marketing and lead generation aspect of your job as a realtor ever again. I realize that you're currently working under a large real estate company and that they may already provide online marketing services for their agents, but I would like you to consider having a team to handle the online marketing of all of your listings so that you will have more offerings and potentially close deals higher than their asking price. If it makes sense to talk more, do you have 5 to 10 minutes whenever you're free so that I can share an online marketing strategy that I have formulated with you, or I take it for you, right? I will say I'm not the best person to ask for this. I was in the real estate industry way back when I kind of around the time that I was first getting started. I had around 3 clients in the real estate industry, but I mean, my entire agency has taken a shift from that to solely Ecomm and info products. So I don't honestly know what resonates most with real estate agents, but I would really figure out what it is, where their biggest pain points are, and position your CTA in a way that's going to resolve those pain points. I think that you could make this email a lot more poignant, and I think that you should do more due diligence into the real estate industry, and not so much like how to get good results or whatever, but more where are their biggest pain points, right? Because as I say, you know, that's why I don't, you know, quote unquote, help other people or other agency owners in other industries, right? I only help agency owners in the Ecomm and info product niche simply because that's what I know best. And that's, you know, that's where I've done my own due diligence and I know exactly what resonates most and what doesn't. In the real estate niche, I'll be very honest, I don't know what resonates most with them. It's the same with the dental niche or the restaurant niche or whatever it is. So I would definitely make sure that you look into that, because there's going to be specific things that real estate agents absolutely hate to do. And I just don't know those things because I haven't done my research. That said, as I say, I think you can make the email slightly more poignant. And I think that you could, 2 things, more poignant, and I think you can make it sound a lot more sexy. It sounds very, very formal. It sounds very bland again, and it almost sounds a little bit boring, right? And again, going back to what I said before, there's a myriad of areas where they can just bounce out. I mean, the first line, you've spoken about yourself. I'm Clarence and I run a digital marketing agency called the name, and that alone gives them a chance to opt out. As soon as they see a digital marketing agency called blah blah blah, they're like, oh, whatever, it's just another one of those emails, right? You don't want to give them that chance at all, especially not as soon as they open up the email. So yeah, probably not too much help for that one. I apologize, but at least from what I've read, I think that's the best piece of advice that I could give you for that. So guys, a longer video there. I hope you found value. I hope you was able to take some more actionable tips. I know you guys really, really like it when I do these videos. They are a little bit longer, a little bit more time intensive, but I think they're really, really good because they provide so much actionable tips. Like, you know, you could watch this video, take away what we've gone through in the video and literally implement that exact stuff today or tomorrow into your outreach and see an increase in meetings booked and whatnot literally tomorrow. And I like those actionable videos and whatnot. And I know you guys find a lot of value. So as always, if you did find value, go ahead, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.